So, hashtag sell the Snyderverse to Netflix is resurrected, apparently, possibly. So, was that the hashtag? See, I remember release the Snyder Cut. See that? And that was the big one. That's the one. And it was successful, But, yeah, to sell it to Netflix was a campaign for a bit, Because Snyder, all his, recent projects have all been with Netflix. So, anyway, here's Cosmic Book News with the headline. Zack Snyder's Justice League revival possible. Netflix candidate to buy DC. This comes on, 24 hours after Paramount Skydance was looking possibly to buy Warner Brothers. So, obviously, I think it's a fair guess that it is up for sale. So anyway, long live the king, Elvis. Anyway, Zack Snyder's Justice League universe could make a comeback if Netflix ends up buying Warner Brothers and with it, DC Studios. That's the possible speculation following a report from Variety citing Wells Fargo media analyst Stephen Cahall, I guess? Cahall? Let's go with Cahall, who identified the soon-to-be standalone Warner Brothers as a prime acquisition target, which is the point, yeah. The rumors that that's what Zaslav was up to the whole time, I think pans out, So anyway, prior to the news of a potential Skydance Paramount bid for Warner Brothers, analyst Stephen Cahall named Netflix the most compelling buyer, ranking it ahead of Amazon, Apple, Comcast, Sony, and Paramount Skydance. So this predates the story about Sky. So, okay. Anyway, indeed, prior to news of Paramount Skydance is prepping a bid for WBD, which was first reported by the Wall Street Journal, Wells Fargo media analyst Stephen Cahall, I guess I'm going with Cahall, issued a note that pegged the future standalone Warner Brothers as an attractive M&A candidate, with Netflix the most compelling buyer, and other potential suitors including Amazon, Apple, Comcast, Sony, and Paramount Skydance. Wait a minute, I just repeated the same thing. Damn it, that's embarrassing. The report arrives as the entertainment industry braces for massive shifts, which are thought to involve tech companies scooping up film studios at bargain basement prices. Rumors have also said Apple has been interested in Disney, and Skydance is essentially a tech company as a result of Oracle. Netflix can be looked as a tech company. Yeah, they started the whole streaming thing. Comcast owns Universal, so it's well underway as we speak. So yeah, if Netflix or Paramount gets Warner Brothers, that leaves, well, Disney for one of the others to gobble it up, And don't think that's not in the realm of possibility. Oh, it is. Warner Brothers Discovery is planning to split in 2026 into two separate entities. I guess because they announced that it's underway and it's a done deal, but the actual split will take place next year. So Warner Brothers, which holds the studios HBO, DC, etc., and Discovery Global, which will retain the cable and network assets, that's all doomed to collapse into oblivion. So the prettier asset is, of course, the studios and the IP and all that. So the split was confirmed by CEO David Zaslav and lines up with what analysts say makes Warner Brothers much more attractive for acquisition, especially by a content-hungry giant like Netflix. Well, you really want to chase that quality, though, because you got a lot of stuff on there already. So much so, most of it, most people will never see, But, if you got a lot of Batman on there, they'll probably see that. So anyway, for fans of Snyder films, well, DC films, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Netflix scenario opens the door to possibilities that once seemed closed. Since exiting the DCEU, Snyder has found a home in Netflix, where he's developed Rebel Moon, crap, Army of the Dead, even crappier, and Twilight of the Gods. And that wasn't too bad. It was actually, it was weird. And it had a lot of odd things to it. Plus, it was a cartoon. But still, it's the best of the three that he's done. And I thought if there was any possibility of him doing any more Justice League, it might be an animated thing. And it still might if this is the possibilities here with this potential merger and all that. So anyway, he's also working on a police drama project for the streamer. A potential acquisition would put his past and present under the same roof, and with it, the keys to DC. Snyder fans have long speculated that Netflix could be the path back to continuing or rebooting his version of the DC universe. That theory, once brushed off as wishful thinking, now has a sliver of plausibility. If Netflix owned the studio and IP outright, it could greenlight a Snyderverse continuation alongside other DC projects. And if the studio sees value in multiple continuities, as it already does with series, animation, and spin-offs, there's nothing stopping a scenario where Snyder's characters and arcs return in some form. This could mean Zack Snyder's Justice League Parts 2 and 3 could finally see the light of day, as well as Ben Affleck's version of the Batman. Yeah, but let's say this all goes through. By the time he could get to it, he's really going to be up there in age. Now, he's staying in great shape. He still does these, kind of action-like movies and stuff. So, on the other hand, it could be he comes back to direct it. The script is done and that sort of thing. They might want to change a few things, whatever. But nevertheless, the same story. And they recast Batman for it. It could be something along those lines. Or it's all animated projects alongside the DCU. Yeah, what about that? Well, that wouldn't necessarily mean the end of James Gunn's DCU either. Netflix has shown it can support multiple large-scale franchises and would likely want as much DC content as possible to fuel its platform. A dual-track approach could serve different audiences. Gunn's continuity on one side, and Snyder's fan-favorite dark tone on the other. With DC IP under its control, Netflix could push volume, variety, and vision all at once. However, as Matt McGloin suggested above, it's possible James Gunn is fast-tracking the DCU to make Warner Brothers look more attractive ahead of a potential sale. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. Plus, look, Superman made money, but I don't think it really hit the goal that they really needed. And so he's trying to maintain excitement for it. And that sell is looming. So, up next is Supergirl. Well, all right, but so he's got to hurry up and whip out another Superman film, and yeah, that's the deal. So fast track. Plus, they said they're fast tracking Wonder Woman, so that's another thing that could pop up all of a sudden. So anyway, Gunn appears to be moving quickly to get his slate into production, which could be part of an effort to boost the studio's perceived value before Warner Brothers and DC with it changes hands. So, the ultimate dream would be having both, but you're navigating that. You've got two different versions. How do you handle it? The more obvious thing would be animated versions of the DCEU, and Snyder's in charge of it. that sort of thing. But of course, the original films are live action, so it's kind of a bummer there. But the cool thing is, at least the DC universe as I knew it growing up and stuff, was it was always a multiverse. So you had Earth 1, Earth 2. Well, cinematically or streaming, whatever, however you want to put it, this would be the on-screen DC multiverse. And at some point, you could have this event where Corn Sweat and Henry Cavill cross over, meet one another, and all that kind of stuff for their, cinematic version of Crisis, that sort of thing. Would be cool if handled aptly. Still a lot of fumbles here. And Snyder's output of late. Poof. The last great movie he did was Justice League, and that was the best of the 3 DC films he did. Well, not including Watchmen, which was pretty damn good. But for his DCEU films, Justice League was the best of the batch. So, they're in this conundrum about trying to get their new Batman off the ground when they have another Batman franchise underway and that sort of thing. This would be more than that. Even with one owner. So it's an odd thing. And I wonder if the structure of it where they wouldn't actually be movies, but TV series and stuff. I don't know. And the clock keeps ticking. So, sure, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the conclusion. I don't know about that business of Batman fathering a child with Lois Lane and all that. The rest of it, I was pretty much fine with the plot and everything. So, I don't know. Ultimately, you get to the point where, they're going to have to recast some of the main players. Cavill, on the other hand, depending on how soon this comes underway, could probably come back as Superman. I just don't know if Affleck would get back as Batman. But, I don't know. With Zach in charge and everything, maybe so. But still, even if everybody's on board, this is going to take some time to get to. So, there's a sliver. It's Netflix. Snyder is there. They seem to be on good terms with him, even though, Rebel Moon and Army of the Dead. Those were bad. But, it's like, Zach, you're going to have to get an actual writer. You've got vision and some ideas, but you're going to need a solid script to work from. Maybe something along those lines. He got a little swell-headed after the release the Snyder Cut movement. And of course, he got screwed by Warner Brothers at the time. And so you can understand it. But most of the plots for those films that he revealed, which I'm sure he would alter a bit if he got the chance to do them, were fine. They were pretty sound for it, and except for the Bat Baby thing, I didn't like that. But it would be cool. But again, I come back to it would probably be these animated projects, while James Gunn's DCU is the live action stuff. And then again, if they want to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths when the Gunn stuff's coming to an end. And the 2 Supermen meet and that kind of thing. Then that could be live action. And it doesn't really matter how old Henry Cavill is by the time you get there. He's the older Superman from his universe, which is the way it was in DC of yore, So, I don't know. We'll see. But, that's a cool scene when they released that trailer and he was blasting Steppenwolf with his heat vision. Yeah, it was good. Oh, well. The acquisition, definitely. The Snyderverse restored, again, it's a sliver. But sliver's a sliver,